Well, that looks a little odd. My apologies. I made a mistake. Good afternoon. It's Sunday, February 15th, 2026, and you're watching Roasting the Press. And I'm here with my partner in crime, Richard Gagnon, as always. Richard, how you doing?
Doing great, even though I had a generator die on me this week, but that's okay.
What happened to the generator?
I have a feeling it's that secondary fuel filter, the one that's down at the bottom, that's clogged up. Uh, but it's going to take a while to fix it. So
Oh dear, what are you running off right now? Battery
I'm running
power?
off. No, I'm running off my big generator, my big noisy generator, which is 6,500 watts.
Okay.
It's on the back of the truck, and the generator is facing the trees, so I don't get all the big noise coming in here.
That's what we have to deal with when we live in a distributed environment.
That's right. Yep.
You don't depend on the government for your power or for anything else.
Yep, or any big corporations that tend to dip into your bank accounts and steal your money.
To be fair, man, there's a lot of that going on lately.
Yes, there is.
But let's go into our first piece tonight. It's a piece about censorship, and it's a piece comparing the Great Firewall of China to, well, some of the things happening in Canada right now. And we begin with Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal government is advancing a series of bills that critics considered to be the blueprint for a great firewall of Canada. Now, there is a bit of concern over a number of specific bills being discussed in Parliament right now. This is John Carpay. He mentioned a couple of them. There's a couple of others. Essentially, the Liberal government is keen on putting little censorship components into a whole bunch of different bills. So I didn't list the specific bills that are problematic here, but I want everyone to know that there's a lot of censorship going on in Canada. It's just subtle. It's not an exact analog of China's Great Firewall, but it is the sort of thing that I find to be modestly problematic. Now, China's Great Firewall is a state-run infrastructure that blocks foreign sites like Google and Facebook. It uses something called deep packet inspection to make sure censorship doesn't get through, or to make sure wrong opinions don't get through. It also uses something called DNS cache poisoning, and something called TCP resets from clients. And it uses these things to filter keywords. It uses these things to surveil users. And it uses these techniques to promote domestic platforms for ideological control. If the platforms are Chinese, the Chinese government has direct control over what's going on. And it uses its control over hardware and firmware and software to maintain that control and to link all domestic users to domestic sources of information. Essentially, it funnels everything through government gateways, forcing authoritarian censorship on a massive scale. Now, as noted in the December 6th, 2024 Democracy Fund post, under the title Updates on Online Harms Bill C-63, Canada's plans, unlike China's, don't depend on control over the infrastructure, which is one of the ways China is different from Canada. Our legislation makes social media platforms responsible for censorship and requires them to mitigate a variety of ill-defined crimes and content on their own without the government's help and without the government need to take direct control of Canada's physical internet infrastructure. Now, unlike Canada's technical barriers, a graph up here explains some of them, and unlike China's ideological suppression, Canada's approach supposedly regulates, not censors, private platforms, and it makes a point of saying they use legal sanctions for targeted harms, child trafficking, hate speech, and they function within a democratic framework. Now, the Canadians think they're actually doing it, but to be fair, China uses the same words, even as everybody laughs at them. But they don't laugh at Canada. And I think it's worth noting that the Carney Liberals insist that the legislation will be subject to charter scrutiny. The legislation will be subject to oversight, and the legislation will be subject to public debate, even as the push forward with legislation suggests otherwise. I would say we can say that Canada's new legislation resembles European Union legislation. It resembles the Australian models more than the Chinese system, but only because the Chinese have control over their hardware. And that makes their system tighter and more censorious. Canada doesn't have global site blocking infrastructure or state propaganda promotional techniques. But even in Canada, privacy advocates like Michael Geist caution against vague legal powers enabling abuse. Even as experts note that the Canadian bills lack the Great Firewall of China's transparency, capacity for control, and authoritarian intent, at least for now. Nobody believes China. Everybody believes that this stuff isn't malicious in Canada, at least if you're a member of the Liberal Party. But on the other hand, I think it's worth noting that even the European version of the legislation currently being popularized in Canada is already being used to ban free speech on multiple platforms in Europe, multiple platforms in South America, and even in democratic nations like the US and Canada, anything outside the EU. And this is according to multiple recent posts on the topic on a variety of publications. These three stories came from Reclaim the Net, but they're all over the place. So now that I've done my diatribe, Richard, what do you think's the difference between China and Canada?
Well, it doesn't sound like there's any difference.
Well, China has more technical capacity. China has control of the firmware. China has control of the hardware.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And in Canada, they can't control the hardware because that would interfere with private business.
Not even that, but the hardware is bought by Americans, and to be fair, billions and billions and billions of dollars of the internet infrastructure were also bought by the Chinese.
True.
And a lot of internal policy wonks have tried to come up with a way of removing all the Chinese pieces of the Canadian internet infrastructure since at least, I don't know, 2015, and they failed miserably doing it.
Yep. Yeah, it's in Canada, we're still a free society. Everybody says we're not. But I'm sitting there saying, no, we still have private business. I mean, I can set up my own business and do my own internet stuff without any problem whatsoever. It's just the price I got to pay if I really want to do that. And of course, as a matter of fact, I was asked the other day about setting up an AI server locally. So that way it's not on the internet and we can use it here instead. So I'm going to be looking into that. There'll be private servers, which can easily be connected to the internet so other people can get access to it. But the thing is that in Canada, I do it. I don't care what the government says. I don't care what other companies say. I just do it. And if they try to shut me down, then I'll find a different connection path. There's so many people that they try and put a wall up in front of you to stop you from doing things. And I've always said, if you put a wall up in front of me, I'm going to blow a hole through it to get through. I'm going to climb over top of it. I'm going to dig myself underneath it, or I'm just going to go around it. I'm not going to let nobody stop me from putting up a wall. So the same thing goes with the internet. Go VPN, go different mechanisms that get you your connections. Sure, China will basically control that they're controlling it from the end user point.
Yes.
They're not controlling it from what's coming in and going out. They're controlling what's going to the end user. So they're processing a lot of data to and from the user, but they're not. That's the way they're able to do their censorship. And of course, in here, if they tried to do that, then they would be violating my rights.
To be fair, I would argue that you are correct. The infrastructure is set up in such a way in Canada that the government doesn't have direct access to it.
That's right. And they can't afford to get direct access to it.
You're right. They have no money. China's great firewall depends on physical access to the infrastructure. That's why they have companies like Huawei and other organizations that built out the infrastructure. Copying Canadian Northern Telecom designs is my understanding. But they built their own infrastructure. We also have a lot of American routers and stuff like that. And both the Chinese and the Americans can essentially, listen to everything we do.
They can, yeah.
Unless it's a something like what you built, or something like what an independent company does.
That's right. Yeah, and of course I can build my own servers. I did that in the past with Not TV. I built up all my own servers. They had no access to them. Nobody had access to them. We were able to do this internally to test everything out.
No, I agree. This is something we can do in Canada. I would say this is something we can also do in the States right now.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit more concerned about the methodology being used in Canada. They've already threatened Google, and Google caves. Google pays $100 million a year to the Canadian government in order to not be banned or anything like that. The Canadian government has threatened Facebook, and Facebook, to its credit, has refused to allow Canadian news. They've said, no, we don't want to play this game anymore. And that I believe has harmed Canada, although my understanding is that there are varieties of Canadian governments that are now back to buying ads on Facebook.
Right.
But I understand their methodology. They're not going after the small bit players like you and I. They are starting with the big players.
Yes, because the big players end up having some control over the small players.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
And then they don't have to police it. They let the big players do all the policing.
Yes. And that is absolutely their plan. And at some point, won't that affect you?
Well, the thing is that if like right now, I can't do live videos on Facebook because some idiot decided that one of the videos I played at the beginning of my show was dealing with human trafficking. And I'm sitting there, no, it's not human trafficking. That's displaying what human trafficking is. It's not.
Oh dear, they banned you for mentioning human trafficking.
Well, no, the video basically portrays human trafficking.
Oh dear.
And so what they've done is they basically cut off We Are Not TV from being able to do live broadcasts. So I'm doing Twitch. Still doing Twitch.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So anyways, and they, of course, they didn't say how long or anything like that. So I'm not even going to bother dealing with Facebook. I'm going to find another path. I'll probably go find something where it's very inexpensive to do streaming. And I think StreamYard will allow people into StreamYard. So
yeah, I think I believe they do that. It gets pricey after a while.
Yeah, I'll have to check.
You can host everything on StreamYards, and that's they're helpful with that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's not going to cost me too much.
I think that highlights one of the advantages of the internet. It's a distributed network intended to function if many, over half, if lots of their nodes go down. And that is perhaps one of the government's biggest problems, whether the government's in the EU or North America or South America. It's hard to block everything on the internet. There are so many options available for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I just have to sit down and go through all the different ones, but I'll get through all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Facebook is irrelevant anymore. They have a lot of people that look at the stuff, and I like looking at some of the videos posted there. The cat videos are really cute, but the thing is, I'm not dealing with Facebook as far as economics go.
Okay.
Because they don't pay me.
They charge money if you want a lot of distribution. They have a package that they can give you you have to pay money for these days.
Yeah, and of course I don't really care to use their stuff because it's just not worthwhile. Because they can just as easily take it away from you.
I agree 100%.
I don't think
yeah.
They're not a reasonable. They're not a reliable source or reliable supplier of streaming.
I think that's probably correct. I've never heard it explained that way before, but I agree. Facebook, a lot of the big players are essentially unreliable when it comes to getting out news stories.
Right. Yeah. They'll censor you. They'll get in your way.
Yeah.
And then of course, if you are signed up to generate revenues from Facebook, they can just quickly take all that revenue away.
I've noticed that a couple of times. Yeah.
Here's your punishment. You can't have that money.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it.
Yeah. And they can, what Facebook giveth, Facebook can take away.
Yep. Yeah. So why bother with them? They're useless to me now. And I think there's Google would also be useless to me because they do the same thing.
Google's worse. I used to have Google AdSense years and years ago when I was writing for the aerospace industry, and they wouldn't give you a payout unless you made $75.
Right.
And every month I would get like $65, $70 with a Google payout.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the second month, they'd say I had violated their terms of service. They never told me what those terms of service were, but I had to start over.
Right. Yeah. So why bother? YouTube does the same thing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Why do you think everybody wants to censor what's going on?
I don't know. Well, they want to censor it because they want to be able to get money from the government, whatever government they're dealing with.
Yeah, good point.
So if the government says
money from Americans.
Yeah. So if the government says we want you to not allow that to go out, then they'll say, okay, fine, just keep giving us money.
I agree. Anything else we should say before going on to our next piece?
Oh, let's go on to the next piece.
Let's go on to the next piece. If you'd like to see the sort of publications which the current Liberal government favors, you'd be best served by checking out Montreal's free entertainment weekly, Cult Montreal. Now, this is the publication we've been looking at before, most recently in our September 14th, 2025 segment on how Cult Montreal demonized Charlie Kirk. We also noted Cult Montreal in our August 17th, 2025 post under the title Cult Montreal is Canadian government-funded propaganda. So I guess that means either that Richard and I are also biased or that Cult Montreal is heavily funded through Canadian government programs. Anyway, the best way to understand Cult Montreal's political bias is my favorite Cult Montreal story, their weekly Observations from Montreal editorial, which officially focuses on an ever-changing collection of commentary by Montrealers about Montreal politics and culture. That's what they say anyway. To be fair, it mostly just slags people who disagree with the federal government, especially if they're Pierre Poilievre. Here's an example. For example, the first post on the September 13th, 2026, Cult Montreal Observations from Toronto notes that the vast majority of Canadians support bans on importing, buying, or selling handguns and assault rifles. Evidently, almost all support that. And it also says in the same quote, Pierre Poilievre has voted against every gun control measure in Parliament since 2004.
Good.
Now, the quote, say what, Richard?
Good. He voted against every gun control measure.
Well, that's not what Cult Montreal people say. They think it's bad.
I say it's good.
Yeah, I do too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But this quote is dated February 13th, 2026, when the article was written. But if you click on the link, it goes to a February 5th, 2023 Cult Montreal editorial under the title Large Majorities of Canadians Support Bans on Handguns and Assault Rifles.
Define large majorities.
It what?
Define large majorities.
It doesn't in that article.
Right.
To be fair, that article also doesn't mention a damn thing about Pierre Poilievre. Now, the post does refer to a June 15th, 2022. That's like 3.5 years old at this point. Leger survey. Leger is a big survey company, primarily American-based, but does a lot of Canadian stuff. Their post is under the title Gun Control and the Opioid Crisis, June 15th, 2022. That article surveys mostly Americans and a couple of Canadians on a variety of topics, not just gun control. And frankly, that doesn't say a damn thing about Pierre Poilievre either. It doesn't divide up the Canadians from the Americans. It doesn't go into the details of how the survey was taken. And all this through two subsidiary articles goes back to the Cult Montreal quote, the vast majority of Canadians support bans on importing, buying, or selling handguns and assault rifles. And it all seems to go back to slagging Pierre Poilievre. That's an example of the stupid bias in Cult Montreal.
Yep.
Now, it's also worth looking at the authors. A good example of this is my favorite author, a guy named Taylor Noakes. Now, according to his bio, he's a mover and a shaker, and he stands up to authority. Having started his career as a journalist by publishing a magazine that nearly got him expelled from college, Taylor supports independent Canadian journalism as a patron as much as a contributor. And then the article goes on to note that some of the amazing independent publications he's reported for include The Maple, The Ricochet, The Progress Report, The Tyee, Canada's National Observer, Canadian Dimension, The Breach, and The Rover. And I've checked. We have the links to all of these news outlets. I use that word loosely. I have links to all of these news outlets, and frankly, they are all leftist publications. Canadian National Observer is overtly funded by the Liberal Party. Canadian Dimension is heavily NDP. They are all NDP and Liberal publications. How do I say this delicately? Supported heavily by Heritage Canada Foundation grants and CRA deductions for journalism. Now, I'm open, but all these Canadian publications are supported by the government of Canada, which makes people like Noakes beholding to the federal government. I don't think that makes him a mover or a shaker. I don't think that makes him a radical or a rebel or anything. To me, he's a liberal hack that supports the Carney government. Richard?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Anyways, I'd never read any of his stories, so
yeah,
I really don't know enough about him.
Okay,
but I'll tell you one thing: if he's if he's doing good stories that are for the people of Canada, that's great. But if he's supporting the government in his stories, then no, he's not good.
I would say he's not supporting the government in his stories. But let me pull up his website again, and I'm going to go down the list of some of his most recent stories. Let me see if I can pull that up. And I think you're right. I think it's important to actually look at what he actually does. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I noticed that his first story was his first published work is The Walrus, a brand new one, less than 3 or 4 days old. Carney's Wealth tests the limits of Canada's ethics laws. The Walrus is a heavily liberal publication. The National Observer, heavily liberal, funded by the Liberal Party. Carney could take a page from Mulroney to drive the auto sector change. DeSmog is one of those things that really confused me. It's a Canadian publication primarily involved in climate change propaganda. Canada's pension plan is bankrolling Trump's fossil fuel and Al Qaeda initiatives. And here's one thing. Noakes writes a lot of stuff for the San Francisco Chronicle. I tried to figure out if he was living in San Francisco now or if he just knows somebody there. An article for the Globe and Mail, the Golden Dome, a Trumpian con job is a waste of money for Canada. Ricochet is almost it grew out of a student paper, I think. How residential school denialism has fueled Canada's church burning panic. I would encourage us not to make a judgment just based on the titles here, but we will include the links in the show notes. So anybody listening to us tonight can certainly go check for themselves to find out if Taylor Noakes is a proper journalist or just a PR flack for the Liberal Party. Does that answer your question, Richard?
Yep. It sounds like a lot of interesting stories. I'd like to see some short video clips on his stories.
I don't see any videos. What he does long form journalism, mostly for legacy media.
Well, even if it was long form, the videos would be great because I'd like to play those full videos, 30 minutes or an hour long on my show.
And that I'm going to argue. Again, I've done this before, and you've agreed with me. This is the difference between new media outlets and legacy media. We are happy to have alternative voices. We are happy to have different people come aboard. We are happy to deal with reason and evidence and peer review.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think we can't just judge his work by what comes out of Cult Montreal. We have to see the broader range of what he does.
Right. Yeah.
At this point, do we have anything else to finish this up with, or shall we go on to the next?
Let's go on to the next.
We are going to go on to our next piece. Mary Ann's coming aboard.
Richard,
hey.
We have company over tonight, and Mary Ann has been keeping the company occupied. But she's come aboard. We're going to do one last segment tonight, and that's your segment, Richard. Cue us up. Tell us what it's about.
SPF. Remember that stuff that they tell you to put on the sunscreen, the chemicals they tell you to put on the biggest organ of your body?
Yes.
It's sunscreen. It's the most dangerous thing you can put on.
In many ways. Yeah, he's absolutely right. In so many ways.
Says the woman who paints her face white every time she goes out running.
Okay, just put that aside. Just put that aside.
Maybe we should listen to the video first.
Yeah.
This is February 14th, 2026. Mungo Minds on BitChute post SPF 1.
It was only till the 1960s when the SPF push came that people were told not to go out in the sun. Right? Big Pharma created SPF, and they told people you shouldn't be in the sun anymore. Because in the 1960s, when you look at people, people are all fit, they're jacked, they're healthy, they're looking great, they're working out, they're taking care of themselves. And then all of a sudden, Big Pharma had to come out and try to say, no, the sun is dangerous. You need our sunscreen. You need our petroleum-based sunscreen with tons of chemicals linked to the illness that you are attempting to prevent. If you look up the lawsuits for sunscreen, it is mind-blowing how many lawsuits of sunscreen causing skin cancer. Okay, you can look up the lawsuits. Just go through it. All the lawsuits of sunscreen causing skin cancer because you're taking this chemical and baking it into your skin. For hours. I see people, they go to the pool, they go to the beach, they're spraying this garbage all over their body, and they're like, I wonder why I have acne. I wonder why I have hormonal issues. I wonder why I have low energy and fatigue and infertility. You're baking chemicals into your body the entire time, and your skin is the largest organ. So you absorb anything that you put into your skin. So for sunscreen, it makes absolutely no sense. And the sun heals. That's why they spend so much time blocking it all the time. Think of how much time the government spends blocking the sun. Like all the time. All the time. Do you know why? Because if you had lots of sunshine, you have revolutions. When it's cold, people are going to sit in their house and they're going to buy the next Netflix TV show and they're going to cuddle up in a little thing and they're not going to revolt. But you give them sunshine, they'll revolt. So that's why they do that.
How about that, huh? I mean, ever since, I guess when I was a kid, my mom would always be trying to put sunscreen on the kids at the beach. And I always thought, this is stupid. And then, of course, when I went into school and I discovered that vitamin D prevents skin cancer, and your body produces vitamin D when it's in the sun. So all of a sudden, everything started to say, well, I'm not using sunscreen. I would never use that. I would never try and prevent the sun from coming to me. So what I encourage people to do is to, in the early season, like coming up in March roughly, when the sun finally starts coming out more regularly here, I'm going to be outside, if it's warm enough, without my shirt on. And I'll be in my shorts. And I'm going to be gathering as much of that sun as I can at that point in time. Guaranteed, I will not burn.
To be fair, this brings up broader questions of big pharma companies and big drug companies and multinational conglomerates recommending things based on internal research, which may or may not be accurate, or could be just, propaganda. Big companies telling us what to do.
Well, let me ask this because I think Richard's right.
That sounds harsh.
And I admit that I go out jogging and I put the a natural sunblock on. Okay, so we'll just put that aside for a minute. Just put that aside. But because he's right. But when it comes to, I will say also the stuff that is not the unnatural stuff, is that not just repelling this? What's in that stuff? That other glompy stuff like SPF 5 and SPF, is that like, what is aluminum? Like, what is in that stuff?
Yep, petroleum products and aluminum is another big one. Yep, heavy metals.
So in fact, what it's doing is it's supposed to be mirroring off the sun, reflecting off the sun, and it'll be like barium aluminum, just like what they're dropping. So that's pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
That's very scary.
Yep.
Okay, so I come clean. I sometimes wear zinc oxide on my face a little bit because I burn. And so what am I doing to myself? How bad is it? I'm blocking vitamin D, and I'm not allowing. Yeah.
You're blocking the ability of your body to manufacture vitamin D.
And is it fair to say that if I allowed my skin to get used to sun, it would just regulate itself and wouldn't burn?
Yeah, in your case, you might just want to go outside without anything covering your face initially, but when you're running, you might put a baseball cap on to prevent the sun from touching your nose, basically, if that's what's burning. So that way, your body will slowly become used to that, and it will be able to protect you. Okay, that's what I discovered 2 years ago when I moved out here. Actually, before that, when I was in Calgary. But I discovered that if I go around shirtless in the early spring, when the sun is still low in the horizon, I get my body acclimated to that sun, that UV, and I get nice and brown. And by the end of the summer, everybody's jealous of my tan. But because of the fact that I've been doing it slowly at the very beginning, getting the body used to it, which I have to do soon here because it's going to start getting sunny soon. So I got to hopefully the temperature goes up and we'll be able to get this vitamin D production going in my body. So.
And that's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Because one of the things that the doctors, they would say that you have to have the sun, you have to protect yourself. And I'm sitting there, but wait a minute. You're saying that I need to protect myself from the sun so that my body won't produce vitamin D, but yet you tell me I got to take vitamin D.
So you're saying that the doctor is telling you shouldn't absorb vitamin D naturally, but you got to buy their pills.
That's right. Well, it's not pills. It's actually drops, vitamin D3.
So you think, so we're actually thinking, wow, that doctors may be prescribing cocktails of things. One here, do this, then don't do this. So don't go in the sun, but have this artificially.
If you start to question the doctors, well, if you question them, they're going to say, well, you're paid. You're not a customer of mine anymore.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, though, is that they are indoctrinated into this way of thinking. People just need to question. If everybody questions the doctors are out of business.
I think it's important to question the doctors. We were always told that we can get a second opinion. Up until 2020, I believe we were told that.
No, you can't anymore. They'll call you out and say you're double doctoring. And you
double doctoring?
You're not allowed to get second opinions. You know this?
I didn't know that.
Because I tried to do that, and then they said I was double doctoring.
That is so bizarre.
Got in trouble for double doctoring.
I believe it's hard to get informed consent if you're not allowed to get a second opinion.
No, you'll be double doctoring.
What you do in that case is instead of giving them the opportunity to fire you, you fire them immediately, and you will say, "You're fired. I'm leaving. Goodbye."
I've done that. I fired a woman in Quebec. If I could remember her name, I'd broadcast it. She lied flat out. About a test result. I knew the woman's crazy. So you've got doctors fabricating stuff. If I could only remember that woman's name.
Yeah. So anyways, you're allowed to fire your doctors, and you do it before they fire you, because they will say that you're fired. I don't want to see you again ever.
Wow.
And then of course they'll put that on your record with a big deal. You can start going to the homeopaths instead.
We live in a really strange world.
Any more comments before we wind up for the night, or?
No, I'm fine with it. Everybody understand what the SPF stuff is all about now, so that's good.
Richard, what's on your plate for the next couple of days?
Well, right now my Facebook account doesn't allow me to do broadcasts, but
you were so calm. Sorry, Richard.
Well, Richard was right.
Again.
Well,
what was that?
Continue, Richard.
Right now, Facebook has stopped me from being able to do live transmissions, but I did find a way around it. And I now schedule my show on Twitch, and then I'll copy that link into my Facebook account, so you can just click on it and start watching it from there.
That's actually outstanding. I like that idea.
I can't post a live video, but I sure can post the link to a live video at this point in time until they discover what I'm doing, and they might just decide to ban that. So we'll see. Anyways,
that goes back to our earlier discussion on the internet being a distributed network, and it's designed to allow people like you and I to get around it.
Well, yeah, exactly. You just got to be technically competent in understanding what you're doing. And yeah. I basically tried this the last two broadcasts, and it worked fine. So tomorrow morning, you'll see me coming up on Twitch, and then of course I'll put that link as soon as I can into the Facebook account.
Okay.
And then you can click on that link and go watch it on Twitch.
So the graphic we have up under here is a little bit different next week. Yeah, if you wanna catch your stuff, we want to go to Twitch first, starting 7 a.m. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. And you can find it when you go to Mongo Mind Production on Twitch.
Very cool. Any good stories planned for the next 2 days?
Yeah, actually, there's let's see. Tomorrow I'm doing a 25-minute episode, and I cannot remember off the top of my head what that one is. And then I'm going to be doing another 25-minute episode. Let's see. Tomorrow is the 16th.
Okay.
Let me just bring up the 16th, and I can tell you what the show is going to be.
Okay.
But it is a video I pulled off of YouTube. And come on, wake up, machine. Wake up. Jeez, really slow today. Special presentation. Why the military is rushing to the North Pole. So, and that one is a 29-minute story that I'm doing tomorrow. It should be it is actually quite interesting, an interesting point of view.
Okay.
And then Thursday, I'll be doing another special presentation, and it will be, I can talk about these because it's just one of them. It's Mr. President, you are losing the PR with the recently released Epstein documents. So somebody did an analysis of what Trump's release of the Epstein documents and how they perceive it.
I think that's a good idea. I think that title all by itself has got more than a little bit of truth in it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, I've got on my Tuesday show, I've got 8 stories, which are going to be, you must take care of your skin. Hey, how about that? SPF. Google any cancer, and it's linked to parasites. So, yeah, these are all stories I found, and I thought, you're going to enjoy these things. They're short, but at least you'll be able to get an idea as to what the stories that you're missing from the mainstream media. They just don't show you anything.
No, I agree. The mainstream media leaves so much out these days. It's quite problematic, especially in Canada where we pay so much money.
Right.
Billions of dollars a year.
And then, of course, I've got another story on do biopsies spread cancer? I've done stories on this before. So this is another doctor's thing on this. So
very cool.
Yeah, so that's some good ones.
Yeah, Tuesday night we're reconnecting to do something we forgot to do last week. That was my fault. I got wrapped up. The truck crapped out. But we're going to do it this Tuesday, February 17th, starting at 8 p.m. We will be doing another episode of Last Week Today.
Right. Yeah.
Got nothing left.
The temperature is supposed to be dropping this week. There's supposed to be a polar vortex going to Calgary.
I don't trust the weatherman. I don't trust anything that I can't confirm by looking out the window these days.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, anyways, it's Mike, and it's supposed to drop the temperature here a little bit too, which is unfortunate. Which means I need to have more firewood in here.
As for Freedom Forum, we have firewood in the house. We should be warm for a couple of days. And we normally record every Sunday night at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on a variety of platforms, including the one you're watching now. We republish the show next day with notes on Substack at chuckblack.substack.com. And most of our stuff slides behind a paywall after a month online. So if you'd like to maintain access, the easiest thing to do is to sign up for a monthly subscription. $20 a month, $160 per year. Good stuff. Access to archive posts, anything over a month old, plus lots of in-depth articles not covered in our regular shows. We also have a Substack app to help you access Freedom Forum stories from your phone and subscriber chat so you can tell us what you really, really want. My name is Chuck Black. I directed the show tonight using StreamYards, which both Richard and I usually recommend, but only if you sign up using either Richard's or my link. We get a little bonus out of this at the end of each month to help defray some of our costs. Marianne and Richard both contributed fun stuff tonight, although they didn't disagree, which sort of confused me a little bit. But it's always a pleasure working with both of them. That's all for tonight. Richard, have I forgotten anything?
No, but it looks like Starlink was dropping me out a little bit there. So
Oh dear, I'm sorry.
that's okay. No, it's my Starlink that did that.
One day we're going to do an expose of Starlink. Oh, you blinked out again, just as I said something nasty.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Anyway, Richard, I will see you on Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I look forward to your shows tomorrow and Tuesday. And
Okay.
yeah, Tuesday.
All right. Enjoy
Good
your
night,
company.
Richard.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Marianne.